Good morning, Brad Washa. I'm one of the ops section chiefs with the Alaska Incident Management Team on the Aspen Acres Fire for the 13th of July. I just wanted to say thank you for all of you that have contacted us as far as doing work on your property in the Rye area. Again, you can use that email that's at the banner at the bottom if you haven't been contacted. And we're basically looking at those properties that are adjacent to the dozer line. The same thing goes true for the west side of the fire where we're putting in line. That side we're using basically the roads, but there are some structures to the east of there that could be impacted by fire. And this isn't going to be anything that's going to happen soon. It's long range planning, but we are working in that area. With that, I've also seen, I was showing some of the posts and a lot of thanks to me, but the thanks really should go out to the firefighters on the ground. And that's why the team's all around. We have a whole support mechanism for that. Within our ops section chief, I actually specialize more in strategic operations, looking far out. We have a line ops that's responsible for the daily operations, both the aerial resources and the ground resources. We have a night ops, so the rest of us can settle down for the evening. We have a planning ops that's basically taking what's happening on today's fire and projecting it to tomorrow, and when we get a plan. And then we have a whole team that surrounds us from a logistics section that provides for food, a place to camp. They provide our ICP, they provide toilets out on the fire line and that sort of thing. We have a planning section that puts together an incident action plan for each day and feeds information up the line. We have a finance section that works on land use agreements and making sure that the firefighters that are out there fighting the fire are paid. We have safety officers that make sure we do things safely. Liaison folks that communicate with the communities and the incident management team. We also have, what am I missing out there? The information group, of course, the information group that tries to get information so that the public and the media are informed on what we're doing. So there's a large, we're almost up to 2,000 people on this fire, and they're basically there, the firefighters themselves, but the support mechanism that's out there. So yesterday on the fire, you probably saw a little more smoke. We had three areas of heat on the fire. One of those areas, we were doing some ignition operations, so trying to catch the fire. The other area was kind of behind the St. Charles mountain area, and I guess St. Charles Peak, and that area was fire just backing down on its own. We are watching that, and again, we do have several lines of defense in place for that, but watching that. And then we also saw some heat in, I've heard everything from people calling it the rabbit's foot or rabbit's ears to the chicken foot. And that area is actually about 1,000 acres in size. So it's not a small area, but most of that heat that was occurring there yesterday was kind of the two rabbit's ears coming together, a little bit of heat on the more western side of that, away from the Rye area. We have all three of those areas been putting resources in, and some of those areas, the burnout operation and that area closest to Rye, a large amount of aviation resources. With that, our team is timing out, so when we go on fire assignments, it's typically a 14-day assignment plus travel. Then we're able to go home, reset, rest a little bit, and then be available for new assignments. Today we're in briefing the Northern Rockies team, and the way our incident command system works is everybody knows what their function is and is trained to that. So hopefully you won't see much of a difference from our team to the Northern Rockies team. And that incident command system is used worldwide. In fact, the last time I worked with the Northern Rockies team was actually in Australia in 2020. So it's a good team that's coming in behind us, and they'll be in place. We'll in-brief them tonight. They'll shadow us tomorrow, so they'll be out seeing what we've been doing, and then they'll take over the fire on, I guess, Wednesday morning. So Wednesday morning at 6 o'clock, we'll transition with that team. So that's kind of the big picture, what's happening around the fire. As far as yesterday, we did see a little bit of a drying trend. Relative humidities came down, and that's in part why we saw a little increase in the fire behavior. Temperatures went up. Today, we're expecting to see a decrease in RHs from even yesterday in the, I think, 15 to 20% range. So anticipate seeing increased fire behavior again as the cloud deck burns off, and nothing significant as far as winds, mostly an easterly component. We're starting to see, I think they're calling for a 1% chance of precipitation. So we're kind of seeing a drop of those thunderstorms, and that's really a concern for those outflow winds. So not anticipating much in the way of thunderstorm activity. So we kind of, that's in our favor as far as the weather goes. Let's go around the fire and look at a few things of interest. So again, that rabbit's ear, turkey foot, chicken foot, that area again, kind of coming together a little bit. We were not able to connect this with dozer line from the top or from the bottom. So they are putting in some hand line to connect that. And again, the concern, we really do want to catch that fire there. But if we are not able to be successful with that, we have been putting that contingency, I don't really want to call it contingency line, but we have been putting this line, a dozer line, and then asking for individual property owners to call or use the email if possible, if you're in agreement with doing some thinning along that dozer line, and then doing some structure protection, especially structures that are west of that line. Continue around, we haven't forgotten our backside, and we are putting in a line back on the backside to protect places like Westcliff and all the private lands out here, basically following existing roads. But again, we're doing a lot of structure triage, identifying all the structures that could potentially be impacted on that area. Coming back to the fire, in the St. Charles area, this is where we had the heat yesterday. We did have a couple spots that went out. I did hear some reports of them taking actions on trying to catch that spot. We have been trying to use the 360, 369 road as a secondary strategy line, and our desire is to hold it there. Whether or not we'll have the resources and the treatments in place to do that we'll see what the fire does. But if that doesn't work, we have been continuing and concurrently putting in efforts on a line that comes around the fire and then around the top side. The other area of heat was just above the Bishop Castle area, Mingus Ranch, that area, and that's where they've been doing small little burnout operations to try to pull the fire closer to the dozer line that's in place. We do have dozer line and hose lays in there. I did hear a report of a half-acre spot in there last night from that burnout operation. They were able to get that they were able to get line around that. Continuing up, as we go north, we continue to see more areas of black, so we're getting better containment on the northern part of the fire. On the east side, this area, we don't have line around it. There is still a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's heat underneath the junipers, and they are going in there, continuing to work that. I wouldn't call it problematic, but it is an area that I don't know if we'll have black around that area before we leave. We do have resources in there working it. Coming down, Beulah is being repopulated today, so that's a big accomplishment, I feel, as far as folks being able to get in there, see what happened, the results of that fire, and also see, if their house did survive, start taking care of that. Continuing on the east end, good black. We still will have resources in here within the interior looking at things, and we've already talked about rye. So that kind of, trying to think if there's any other highlights. We did lose a couple helicopters yesterday. There was some initial attack activity up in the Steamboat Springs area, so I believe we lost 2 of our Type 1 helicopters, but then we did get a state helicopter in, so we're still working around that. But we are, as parts of our fire are dying down and the values at risk are being reduced, we are seeing some of our resources that are either timing out, they're also hitting their 14 days and leaving, and they're not being backfilled, or we're being asked to provide resources for other fires that are happening in the Rocky Mountain region. So big picture wise, do anticipate seeing some smoke, especially on that area to the west of the 165 road today with those lower RHs. Some of that, again, they're planning on continuing that burnout up above the Bishop Castle area. And then we'd just expect to see some natural fire in those other areas below St. Charles, and then the Millset Trail area that we're trying to put in line. We anticipate seeing a little bit of heat still in there, but we still have a good complement of air resources to support us, and anticipating a good day. With that, have a good day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.